Absent. Councilman Girl.
Here.
Councilman Hug.
Here.
Councilman McFarland.
Here.
Councilman Morris.
Here.
Councilman Odekirk.
Here.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Here.
Councilman Turk.
Here.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, we have several items to be moved up tonight, and I believe there's probably a substantial number of people here for the redistricting item. So if you'd like to take that one first,
Please do.
we can do that. I'm trying to catch my breath.
You got the memo.
That is Council Memo number 487-13. What's before you is an ordinance approving the redistricting of the 5 councilmanic districts. As we've mentioned before, the city is required to have balanced population in the 5 districts. This is something we've been doing on a regular basis over the last 25 years as we've grown. And what's before you is a rebalancing of the population. This has been to the legislative committee. Hearing was held. Comment was received, and there were no maps that were submitted after the original map that was presented to the mayor and city council. We're presenting it to you for approval at tomorrow night's meeting, and I understand that there are quite a few people that would like to make comments about this, but our recommendation stands for approving the ordinance as presented.
Does anybody want to comment on this?
We need a motion in a second to get it on the floor.
I don't know if you want to do it tonight. You may want to hold off till tomorrow.
All right.
We can vote on this evening, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, members of the council. My name is Richard Rodriguez. I reside at 5110 Wildflower Court, Plainfield, Illinois. And I come today speaking on behalf of concerned citizens of Joliet. This is a grassroots organization compiled of community activists, elected officials, community leaders, and members of the clergy. We come today to ask for a fair map. We outline a fair map, shifting the 3 at-large council seats to reflect 8 consolidated total districts. This proposal is budget neutral. So what does this mean? No longer can multiple council members or people live in one district. Currently, in this map proposed, 2 out of the 5 districts will have 3 council members living within those 2 districts. 8 consolidated districts would mean fewer constituents. Each of the districts would have roughly 18,000 constituents versus 30,000 now. A smaller district would mean it's more likely to have a council person living in your area. I currently live west of 59. There's been a lot of growth in the west part of Joliet. There are no council members living west of 59. 1 representative per district would equal more fair distribution of resources among all districts. We've all heard the main reason why supporting at-large council seats. If a council person is non-responsive, you can always count on an at-large to help. This means more access to council members. I'm willing to make a bold statement today. I'm willing to suggest that each council person today, if you had your own individual district, if I had an issue of a pothole or I had something that was out or a tree that was down, and if I was to call Mayor Giarrante, Councilman Odekirk, Councilman Terry Morris, Councilwoman Jan Quillman, Councilman Turk, Councilman McFarland, Councilman Girl, Councilman Hug, you all would return my call. It's not because you don't, it's because you care about the city of Joliet. This would not change with 8 districts. If each of you believe that the investments, such as the transportation hub, our baseball stadium, the museum, the Rialto, or the development of the Joliet Junior College building, or the expansion of the intermodal and the Will County Courthouse are smart investments, you must believe in growth. How large do the districts need to grow before we make a change? Simply take a look at our surrounding communities. Lockport has 25,000 residents. Crest Hill, 20,000 residents. Shorewood, 15,000 residents. New Lenox, 24,000 residents. And Plainfield, 40,000 residents. How much larger do the council districts need to grow before it's too much? 8 consolidated districts will enhance more opportunity for more responsive government, improved allocation of resources, and improved focus on urban development. Concerned citizens of Joliet are keeping all options on the table and would like the cooperation of the city. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Robert Hernandez, 809 Westminster Road. I just want to echo what Mr. Rodriguez said, and I also want to say that over my over 20 years of working with in this city, working with various councilmen, including the mayor, who we've not always agreed, when I've called his office or any of you, you've always responded and responded well to the concerns that I have. I think what Richard's talking about is something that needs to be done. We need to change the structure of our city council to increase representation. And the Herald News made a comment that it was sort of a minority map, and that's not the case. Whether you're Croatian, whether you come from a Croatian or Slovenian or Polish or German or Irish or Mexican or African American descent, you benefit. Because when a councilman can serve 18,000 constituents rather than 30,000 constituents, that is good. And that increases representation for all Americans, regardless of what your ethnic background is. So I think it's a good proposal, and I hope that you take it into consideration. I've worked with many of you. You're all good people who sit on the city council. Mike Turk has served many years as a councilman at large, and Mike's lived on the far west side. I can recall a few years back when my aunt had her basement flooded, and her district councilman, she called him, and he didn't respond, but Mike Turk came from his home to my aunt's home and personally brought a sub pump out and got the water out. So I know that a lot of you respond and respond well, and you'd all do a good job, and you represent our citizens well. But I think this is a fair map. Is something that we need to consider to increase good representation. Thank you.
Good evening, John Sheridan, 1122 North Center Street. Most of the time, I agree with Bob and Richard on a lot of issues in Joliet, a lot of items that come up. This time, I do not. 3 councilmen at large has served our district for a number of years where we've been having some issues. I don't want to get into issues, but even if District 4 was running smoothly, you still have all you council persons working full-time jobs or part-time jobs or whatever. You got vacation time, you've got family illness, your own type of illness possibly, hopefully not, or sickness of a family, friend, or member, and you also have events for your children you have to attend. We can appreciate that as elected officials. I think the 3 at large are necessary. I think that we need to keep them the way they are. And again, it's a mute issue tonight because it's a referendum you'd have to have on a ballot to change that. You don't change it with the redistricting here on the map. That's our opinion of a couple of residents that are in District 4, and we appreciate if you keep it that way. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, perhaps we could have Jeff Plyman, the Corporation Counsel, explain the process and the difference between what's before you this evening and what's being suggested by the coalition for 8 councilmanic districts.
I have one question. If we vote this redistricting map in, that does not stop the people from getting signatures and getting in on the ballot, correct?
That's correct. It does not stop the process of going to referendum, whether it's in March of 2014 or November of 2014. The citizens still have that right to initiate a referendum that would change what is basically the change in the form of our government going back to the 1950s.
One more question, Jeff. How many signatures are we talking about, do we know?
I believe it's 10% of those who voted for mayor.
10% or 1%?
Mayor, I thought it was 10%, but I'd have to check. I did not look at that before the meeting.
Okay.
The issue, though, is apart from the change of government issue, which there are obviously those in favor of taking a look at the at-large system versus the district system. An even more urgent question for the council is, what do we do with the system we have in place? We've had the system that we currently utilize since the mid-1950s, when there was a referendum that was approved by the Joliet electorate that created as part of the council manager form of government, that we also have a district system to handle geographic issues within the city, but then an overlay with at-large positions to handle issues that go beyond geographic concerns. And that's the way we've operated for more than 50 years. The statutes, though, require that after a census comes out and the city is put on notice that there are population imbalances within each of the districts, that we have a duty under federal law to rectify those imbalances. No matter what we do at some point with the district system or the at-large system, we have, and you can see it on page 1 of the council memo, a table here that indicates we have a cumulative imbalance of approximately 50%, which is 5 times greater than the rule of thumb that is generally permitted in this area. So because of the rapid growth of the city, our districts are out of balance, and they have been out of balance since at least the 2010 census. And because of that, you have a situation which you need to deal with. I've recommended that we deal with it by the end of the year. Now, if there is enough community support for a referendum to change the system, that support and that opportunity is completely unaffected by this proposal, by this redistricting proposal. Because even if there were to be a referendum, it could not possibly be implemented for a couple of years. Meanwhile, we're dealing under the current form, which we know today is 50% out of balance, or 5 times out of balance as what federal authority would normally permit you to be. So you have before you a problem that requires your attention. As your attorney, I'm suggesting that you deal with it urgently, and I'd tell the community that as they take up modifications to the current map that we have for the current system, you are still free to pursue the issue completely. What they're doing today does not affect you, as I see it, in any way, but it allows the city council to maintain proper representation within the current system that we have until a decision is made by the community on some future system, if any.
Questions, comments?
I'd like to, if we could, vote on this tonight and put this topic that's been discussed this evening, but also at our last legislative committee, and have us look at the possibility of a 8 districts, and have public input on that and suggestions. We need to act on this map so folks that want to run are able to move into the districts that are currently before us.
I agree, and aren't we mandated to pass a redistricting plan as a result of the census?
Yes, you're mandated by the Illinois Municipal Code to do that. There's not necessarily a hard deadline, but there's also a Voting Rights Act that requires you to rectify these imbalances when you become aware of them. And so because of that, we've known about the 2010 census figures for about a year or so now, if not a little longer. And so the clock has been ticking, and I've suggested an end-of-year deadline for final action. The map has been vetted by committee and by staff. It's been a matter of public record, and I don't know if there's any issue with how the current 5 districts should be aligned. This is a proposal that seems to have some merit and some support. And that would be a different question altogether than what might be better or not better as a community may see fit for the district system.
Any other questions or comments?
Mayor?
Yes.
There's unless there's somebody else. I would just point out there's distinctly 2 issues here. If I was looking to remodel my house, but I also needed a new roof, and I realize it might take me 2 years to remodel my house, I still have to replace that roof. It's housekeeping, it's maintenance. The 5 districts has to be updated. We've put it off long enough so that everybody in the city understands where it stands for certain. Should there be a movement and a successful referendum to expand it to 8 districts, as our council, Mr. Plyman has said, then you implement it under the law after that referendum. So these are 2 separate situations, and truly, I think it might be a good idea for what Councilman McFarland said, to have some public discussion within the legislative committee. From what I understand, and Tom and Jeff, you can correct me if I'm wrong, there's two ways to put it on a referendum. There's traditional way, or the way that most people understand that, and that's a petition process. And then the council can vote and put it on there. Either way, neither one should be done without complete citywide input. As we see tonight, this was not a publicized meeting on this issue, this 8-district issue, but we have a number of people here that obviously are in favor of 8 districts. And then I see back there, we've had other people. I was going by gauging by the clapping. We've got people that want to discuss this on both sides. And we as a council, as fellow residents, have to offer the opportunity to let them discuss it. So this is a completely separate issue from the housekeeping, the legal housekeeping of establishing the current 5 districts that, in my opinion, is overdue. We've had a lot that we've done over the last couple of years. This wasn't one of them. So I certainly think we should vote on the 5 district tonight and continue the conversation on the 8 district.
Is there a motion? Anybody else want to address this issue? Seeing none. Oh, I'm sorry. Joseph, step up. Name and address, please. I know you're a new resident.
My name is Joe Bellman, by the way.
Address, please.
And for years
Address,
I've
Joe,
been,
for the record. I'm
I've been
sorry,
allowed-
address for the record, Joe.
Pardon me?
Address for the record.
Need to give your address.
411 Plainfield Road.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Joe.
Very good. Now I can be heard, I guess. I've been arguing this here redistricting for the last 15 years. I guess Mr. Giarrante knows that, and certainly Mr. Turk, because he has been in there long enough to really run the council himself. I would like to know what the city has done to inform the people that there is going to be a new map being voted on or even considered. I think it's a responsibility of the council to let the people of Joliet know well ahead of time that the council redistricting is going to be done, how it's going to be done, and one thing or another. I don't think that 90% of the city of Joliet even has any idea whatsoever that there's going to be a map being voted on. And I do believe that the people in the council or the city of Joliet, whoever runs it, should be responsible to the people. And they should let them know well ahead of time that something like this is taking place.
It's been on the floor before.
The only reason why I know about it is because I keep up to date on it, and I've been doing it for the last 20, 30 years. And by the way, if this here map is passed tonight, I assure you that the same people that are on the vote board right now will probably be in there for the next 30 years, or at least a good percentage of them will be unless they're dead. I really think that you have a responsibility to the people of Joliet to notify them well in advance.
Make 30, Mike.
And I do think that this is not, the map is not fair, and it's not equal representation for the city of Joliet. Thank you very much.
All right, Joe. Anyone else? None. It's your pleasure.
I'll move to approve the map.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that an ordinance approving the redistricting of the 5 councilmanic districts be adopted. Councilman Girl,
I vote aye, and I'd also like to say I want to thank everybody out there for their public input. You know, the map's been on display for about 60 days, and I think it's great. I think it's great that we get this public input from Mr. Rodriguez and Mr. Hernandez and all those that have showed up, you know, to express their points of view on going to 8 districts. I would just almost like to, I'd like to echo what Councilman Hug had mentioned as well, that whether we decide to bring forth signatures, you know, to have a change in the political structure, or this council can also put something on the ballot as well for referendum. I just want to make sure that there are public hearings across the city, you know, maybe in all 5 districts. So from the west side, in Kendall County, we go out that far, you know, to the east side as well. So we want to make sure that there's broad-based support if we do decide to change the political structure. But again, I want to thank everybody for coming and making their comments. Also want to thank Mr. Baumann for his comments as well. We do appreciate it. And I vote aye.
Councilman Hug?
I would thank everyone who spoke. And Mr. Baumann, I can promise you I won't be up here for 30 years. That's not going to happen. My wife won't let that happen. And there you go. And I will address directly, Mr. Baumann, because you know how much I respect you. You know, we've gotten to know each other a little bit. You make a good point. But I think this is the first time, if my history is correct, that a council has gone out over 2 months. I think we're nearing maybe 70 days since we originally discussed it. So we, on this map, again, 2 issues. On doing the housekeeping of the existing 5 districts, which I understand you want to expand, we need to take care of that. That's the roof of the house. Let's repair that roof. Remodeling the house and going to 8 districts is something that needs to be done, as you said, by allowing the community to know over a period of time where they can come in and comment, and they need to have a real forum to comment on it. When we started this process, we did have a land use committee that was specifically advertised for this separate issue, the 5 district remap. We've also, I believe, the Herald News, the Times Weekly, all of our local papers, the Patches, they ran advertisements. They actually published the map publicly, and then we had in excess of 60 days for feedback. So I don't know if we could have really held out any longer than 60 days. I'm proud to say that it's the longest it's been stretched from what I can see historically, ever. When they've done a redistricting, it's usually been a 2-week process. And myself, I pushed for 30 days, and then our mayor took that torch and moved it to 60 days I think it was at the legislative committee, Mayor? When he suggested moving to 60 days. So I think we gave it as much as we could, and it got well publicized. But remember, these are 2 separate issues. We're doing housekeeping on the way the law requires us to right now, and then we're looking to the future on whether or not we want to rechange or reshape the structure of our government and go to 8. These are separate issues. One is not going to kill the other. They're independent of each other. So I just wanted to address you directly. And I would vote aye.
Councilman McFarland?
I'd like to thank staff for presenting a balanced and legal map. I also want to encourage folks to take the action of possibly running for city council now that we have a map. The second thing is I can definitely promise you that this issue of going to 8 districts will be on our next committee agenda, and I encourage you to come and present what it is that you're looking for and to see what avenue it is that the council wants to move forward, whether or not it is a council vote or a signature petition drive and some type of timeline. And I vote yes. Aye.
Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Odekirk?
Aye, and I just would like to add, I think the concerned citizens of Joliet have made some good points. I think as a council, my 2 cents, that we should do whatever we can to facilitate this being put on the ballot for a referendum. Let the people of Joliet speak going forward as to what they want to do. But as far as the map tonight, I also think it's fair, and I vote aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
I also agree with everything that's been said here tonight, and I want to thank you all again. And based on all what's been said, I will also vote aye for tonight's map.
Councilman Turk?
I'm going to vote aye also, and as Councilman Hug said, that you know, as in the years I've been around, we've extended the hearing time to 60 days this time, and tried to seek as much public input as we could, and so it has been publicized. And although Councilman Hug's wife won't allow him another 30 years, I don't have another 30 years left, regardless of what my wife says. So I vote aye.
Mayor Giarrante?
You know, I talked to Richard Rodriguez Saturday about this at length, and I understand his position, but as Mr. Sheridan got up and spoke, there are people that like it the way it is because they can vote for 5 members of this council, to 3 at large, and the mayor and their councilman. So there's, you know, if you're going to put this on the ballot, there's a lot of work that's got to be done. You got to get the makeup of the districts, so when people vote, they're not just voting to make 8 districts. They know what the makeup of the district is, where they live. Also, the term of the candidates, if they get elected, they've got to be offset, so they're not all re-elected the same year. So there's a lot of work that's going to have to go in to get this done. It's not going to be easy, and I think if it gets to the ballot, I think the people should have the say. personally, my own feeling, I like it the way it is. It doesn't affect me, but I like the fact that a person can call. They've got 3 at large in their district and myself that they can call if they have a problem. And with that, I vote aye.
Motion carried.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, there are several other items to be moved up, but I believe one that has pretty good attendance this evening is Council Memo number 485-13, 485-13. And that is the special use permit for the Consumer Loan Office at 1606 West Jefferson Street. And Kendall is going to bring that up on the PowerPoint. It shows the layout. And Kendall, if you want to go back to the, there you go, so everybody can see it. I think you've all driven by it several times. What's proposed for this location is a Title Max of Illinois consumer installment loan business. Title Max has stores throughout Illinois and probably throughout the United States. There are stores of Title Max in Crest Hill, Plainfield, Naperville, other places close by. What's being proposed is an office-type operation that would be open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturday from 10 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, and then closed on Sunday. The petitioner will be investing about $90,000 of improvements in the property. This went before the Zoning Board of Appeals. Zoning Board of Appeals recommended against the proposed use on a 4-3 basis. Staff is recommending approval of the Title Max proposal. Basis for that recommendation is that it's a very small lot. It has 16 parking spaces and 2 handicap spaces on it. The drive-through speakers from the old restaurant operations is 20 yards away from the residence that's right behind, or just to the south of this building. It's about 20 yards away from somebody's bedroom. The operation, or this building, has had a proven track record of failure as restaurants. Just hasn't been able to stick, and I think part of it involves the size of the parking lot and the fact of that its layout is just not conducive to restaurant operation. It's been empty since early 2012. It's an eyesore, not generating any sales tax, and I'm not sure what the real estate tax situation is, but no jobs coming through there. The proposed use, while I know it's not the favorite use of the staff, or certainly a use that's been it's been criticized by a lot of neighborhood organizations and other individuals, we understand that it's a use that's authorized by state law. If there's some concern with the proposed use, certainly the arena for deciding whether that should happen or not is in Springfield, not really the city of Joliet. And we do have a lot of residents who rely on non-traditional banking to be able to access loans. This is one option. The other factor for me is making a positive recommendation is that we have a proven developer here, Jerry Cairo, and I think you've all come to know Jerry through the years. Jerry has developed the parcel that has the Starbucks on it on West Jefferson Street, and also the Applebee's, located just to the east of the Starbucks. And we're fortunate because it's one of the few Applebee's that's still open. The one in Romeoville has closed, and a few others nearby have closed. And of course, Jerry has brought forward the project for the new Panera Bread and Chipotle on the old Dodge site. We're working with Jerry on 2 other very hard to redevelop sites in Joliet, both of which have been topics of conversation with the city council in the past. So, with all those items added up, I felt that it was my obligation to bring this forward to you with a positive recommendation. I know that there are many here who would like to speak against it, but I think I have to call them as I see them. And on this particular hard to redevelop parcel with the right developer, I believe it's in the best interest of the city to approve it.
Comments? Anyone want to address this? Yes, Mac.
Mac Willis reside at 201 Edward Street, Joliet. Mayor Giarrante, members of the City Council. Mac Willis, president of Unity Community Development Corporation, a nonprofit entity supported by the City of Joliet in 2007 in response to a comprehensive quality of life plan for Districts 4 and 5, which was commissioned by the city in 2005 and issued in 2006. Although it wasn't intended this way, my small staff and I are unpaid volunteers. I stand here tonight representing 11 neighborhood organizations established in pursuit to that quality of life plan. And they in turn represent an estimated 51,000 Joliet residents, more than 1/3 of the city's total population, mostly in low-income, disadvantaged, and some would say blighted neighborhoods. They are the principal marketing targets of predatory lenders. The presidents of these 11 neighborhood organizations all eagerly signed the letter received by Mayor Giarrante last week asking you to turn down the request for a special use permit for a Title Max store on Jefferson Street, and further asking you to instruct city staff to reinstate the moratorium it had imposed some time ago on approving any more payday loan stores, title loan stores, gold buyers, pawn shops seeking to set up shop in Joliet. It's no surprise. It's no surprise these enterprises target low-income people, and they generally claim they fill a need such people have for easy and quick credit that is not offered by more conventional lenders. That assertion may well be true, and there are certainly people who patronize these stores. But the fact is, their help, in quotes, comes at a high cost that, while perhaps easing short-term needs, extracts a shockingly high amount of money from people who, by definition, cannot afford it. The end result is less money and even more debt for their customers and our community. Finding other less costly lending models to fill the credit need is a subject for another day. For now, it is easy enough to say we have more than enough predatory lenders buzzing around our neighborhoods already. And one final point. The impression one gets driving past payday loan stores, title loan stores, gold buyers, and pawn shops is that the host city is in decline and headed nowhere fast. I don't think that's Joliet. Please reject the special use permit for the Title Max application, and please instruct city staff to put the firewall back up on any further applications. Thank you for your time and attention.
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor, this.
Sorry.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As you know, I'm Jerry Cairo, the owner of that property, and I'd like just to say a few words in favor of it.
Jerry, pull that mic up so we can thank you.
Tonight, I took about 45 minutes and I went around the immediate neighborhood surrounding the property in question. And the local citizens that are next door and across the street and behind it, and the residents, they signed this here.
To give it to, and they'll pass it down.
Saying they'd like to see that building that is in need of repair and vacant, brought back to life, have a business there, and would be much better for the neighborhood, and hold, instead of just leaving it there and letting it continue to run down. I understand what they're referring to with payday loans and all that, taking advantage of people, and I certainly don't want to see any citizens here or at another location taken advantage of. But the fact is that as we sit here, most of us have a credit card in our pocket. And if we go out and we find out that our tire is ruined from hitting a pothole on the way here, we don't like it, but we reach in our pocket, we take out the credit card, and we deal with it. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that doesn't have that. They need their car for work. They need to buy medicine for the children. There's a whole host of reasons why, and we've all experienced them. All of a sudden, you have an unexpected expense. Now, with gold buying, you could take your jewelry in, and the guy could tell you it's worth $300. You have no idea if he's telling you the truth, if it's worth $3,000 or $200. You're kind of at the mercy. This is a loan. You go in, you're going to get a set amount of money, you're going to know your payments, and you're going to know when it needs to be repaid. If that's something you want, just like a credit card that's charging 39% interest as soon as you miss a payment. But if it's something you need, you may not want to do it 12 times a year, but you may want to do it at one time when it's critical that you have the funds to take care of a problem. So to leave this vacant and to have the people that live right around it tired of it being vacant and run down, to bring a business in, to put the remodeling in the money into the property and make it a very nice place, and you have an operator that has 1,200 stores that does a good job. They wouldn't have 1,200 stores if they were doing a bad job. They don't have a lot of complaints, hardly any, and they will provide a service. And it'll be better for the guy who needs the cash than to go to sell his jewelry, go in to get a simple loan, and be able to take care of his emergency needs. I have a whole list. I've since the last time I was here, you know, I've just been mulling this over and thinking about it, and you know, I wrote a lot down to say to you tonight to why to support it. But I think in whole, you have people that are around the area, around the building, across the street. You have a need for it. You have a building that's run down. It needs completely rehab, which we're going to do, and it's not going to be a bad operation. So I won't take up any more of your time. I know everybody wants to get home for the ball game, but I think I've said what I feel needed to be said, and I hope you understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Yes.
This gentleman owns the property. He wants to put more money in his pocket. That property, which has been vacant, has been an eyesore to the Jefferson Street area for a long time now. There have been vagrants, there have been drug addicts who have slept in the dumpster. He's not even taking care of the place as it is now by keeping it lit and by removing the dumpster. But they prey on low-income areas. You won't go to Wilmette or Naperville and find these loan stores there. But you come into Joliet and you come into Aurora and some of the localities which have lower economic families, and you see these payday loan stores all over the place. It's not good for our city. It's not good for our community. And this gentleman is just trying to put some more money in his pocket by renting out that store. I agree with the commission. Reject it. Thank you.
Mayor,
Okay. How long have you owned that property, sir?
8 years.
8 years, okay.
You know, making money is not that bad. I'm sure everybody wants to do that. But I have a list here of the stores in the area here. That shows you that Naperville and Harvey, Franklin Park. It gives you a whole list of everybody that's here. Crest Hill has it. Bloomingdale has it, Bolingbrook. They're not, Elmwood Park has one, they just opened one up by my house, which is across the street from River Forest. They're not just in areas, they're in areas where people may have a need for it one day, and they're available. And no one is gonna make anybody go into it. It's not, we're not forcing people in. You know, it's easy to get up here and have these people say the things they're saying. But when you need cash and you don't have it, you don't have a credit card, you're in trouble. And if I may,
Councilwoman?
Yeah, I was just looking at the petitions that Mr. Cairo presented to us, and there's 19 signatures on there. And of the 19 signatures, 5 are businesses. 1 is a Lockport resident, and a couple of other people do not live anywhere near this fish and chicken, your property. So I counted maybe 11 valid signatures.
okay,
And
I
here
took
we
40.
have 11 neighborhood organizations, 11 people versus all these folks, these neighborhood, organizations. This council, represent the people, okay? They're here, they're against it. I'm also against it. I think it sends a bad message. And if we're gonna vote on this today, I would vote to deny it.
well, it's, I took 45 minutes this evening to get those signatures, and I got them from people in the area. I knocked on doors and got signatures. I know the people live there. To say they're not in the area, not
Lockport's
sure.
not in our area, sir.
No. but, what, was it from a company?
There's 5 Jiffy Lube.
Okay, the fellow works there.
Naturally, you're gonna go with businesses that are gonna support you because you're gonna support them. But you said they were all residents that.
No, I said I stopped at businesses. I stopped at McDonald's, I stopped at Speedway. No, and I'm not trying to pull anything. I had them right exactly where they were on there, so you would see it.
Mayor?
I don't know why you're against it. You have a lot of them in the area. This would only,
Excuse me, please.
this would only bring another choice, which is a higher quality choice, a nicer operation, a fairer operation, licensed by the state, and where you don't have to worry. It may be a little more costly, but the person has the chance to get the cash he needs, and it's in a first-class operation where you don't have to worry about really getting ripped off. So I'd like you to reconsider. It'd be a great place, improvement for the building, and I think we will all benefit from it. And one more thing, there's nothing wrong with making money. I'm sorry. Thanks.
Councilman?
I'd like to entertain a motion to deny.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded, said ordinance be denied.
Hold it a minute, Krista. Is that proper? A negative motion?
I construed it as a motion to deny.
Okay. Well, I'm just wondering if you had to make a motion to accept and then vote it down, but you can make a
No,
motion,
it can
negative
be a
motion.
straight, it can be phrased as a
I
motion
just
to
want to
deny.
be sure. Krista?
Councilman Hug?
I'll make it clear up front, Mr. Carroll, this is no mark against your character. Sometimes projects just aren't the right project. I'd certainly like to see this building revitalized. I don't even pretend to suggest I'm going to tell you how to develop and revitalize it. I will say this much, though. There's some statements made today. It's really not about the need. You know, you were saying there's need in the community. That may or may not be true. In today's internet world, if this isn't going just directly towards low income, who may be more likely not to have a computer, if it's truly middle-class people, I think I can do a title loan online and not have to put it in the community if I feel in need. So it's really not about need, it's about policy. It's about moving forward, and I'm not willing to say we're Detroit, because we're not Detroit. We're Joliet, and we're gonna move forward with some pretty good projects over the next few years. It's a really slow time economically right now, and God bless the Detroitians, would that be correct? Detroitites, and I would lend a hand to them, but I just don't think this is the right project for our community. Mr. Carroll, with all respect, you did mention you have a lot of them already. That's exactly it. I think we've hit our fill, so I will vote to deny. Aye.
Councilman McFarland,
I vote aye, and we need to look at bringing quality businesses, not look at quantity.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk,
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman,
Absolutely aye.
Councilman Turk,
Aye.
Councilman Girl,
Aye.
Mayor Giarrante.
I like the improvements you were gonna make, but one problem I have is, the other day I Googled Title Max, and I couldn't find, what interest rate they charge. And I checked a couple sites. Well, please. I couldn't find it on a computer. So, like I say, hopefully you can find something to go in there, because I like the improvements, but I vote aye.
Motion carried.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we have a few other items to be moved up. Next one is council memo number 50813, and that is a transfer of a liquor license at 2727 West Jefferson. Mr. Murphy will handle the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Thanas. Mayor, Council, a public hearing was held on October 24th, 2013 for the transfer of a Class B liquor license at 2727 West Jefferson Street. Class B allows for the sale of alcohol on the premises only. No citizens appeared in opposition. The applicants are requesting the current license assigned to this address and held by Robert and Marcia Ortega in the name of Philcorp Limited, doing business as City of Champions, be transferred to Brent and Tracy Starry of McBride's on 52 Inc. The Starrys have held a liquor license in good standing in the city of Joliet for the past 2 years at 7162 Caton Farm Road, doing business as McBride's. If the mayor and council approve the transfer, the license would be held until final inspections are made by the building, fire, and police departments who support the transfer. The liquor commissioner is also recommending approval.
So moved. Second.
Questions? Comments?
Question?
Chris? Yes.
Under the comments by our chief, Benton, it says he does not object to this because if the location is closely monitored because of past number of calls, how are we going to monitor this? Do we have the manpower to do it?
Well, we do it based on calls for service. When a call is generated, it's automatically sent through to Officer Clement in the liquor office, in the liquor commission, and we will closely monitor, especially when the building first opens, the number of calls for service.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's it.
Been motioned and seconded that Brent and Tracy Starry, doing business as McBride's, be issued a Class B liquor license.
Excuse me, did you want to say something, sir? Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Councilman McFarland,
Aye.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye. Good luck.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
You got a great business out in District 3, District 1 out there on Caton Farm Road. I'm sure you do great here. Good luck. Aye.
Mayor Giarrante.
Aye, and good luck.
Motion carried.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, next item is council memo number 484-13, 484-13. And that's a preliminary and recording plat for Centerpoint Intermodal Center. This is phase 7 of the subdivision. You've visited this one already. This is the parcel that was purchased by Centerpoint from the Autobahn, and right now there's a spec building, just under 500,000 square feet, that's being constructed on the property. What's coming before you this evening is a formal re-subdivision of that lot, creating one more buildable lot, lot number 30 at the south end of the parcel. The spec building will continue, and the remaining lots are stormwater management lots. This one before the Plan Commission on October 17th. Plan Commission has recommended approval of it. Staff is recommending approval. I believe Mr. Thurston's present to answer any questions you may have for Centerpoint. Otherwise, we're recommending approval.
We take this tonight, Tom?
Yes.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second?
Second.
Krista?
Been motioned and seconded that ordinance be adopted. Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman McFarland.
Aye.
Mayor Giarrante.
For action in District 5, I vote aye.
Motion carried.
Next item is Council Memo Number 486-13. I'm not sure if Representative from First Choice present, but we'll go ahead and do this one. It's a special use permit to allow the relocation of a staffing and recruitment office to 1103 Essington Road. The current facility is on Essington Road. This is a move to a shopping center that is just south of Ingalls on the west side of Essington. Store hours would be from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Friday, limited hours on Saturday, closed on Sunday. This went before the Zoning Board of Appeals on October 17th. Jane Condon Boyer appeared on behalf of the petition, and asked for approval. The ZBA is recommending approval on a 7-0 vote. Staff is doing the same. We're recommending approval of the relocation of this office.
Move to approve. Kennedy.
Second.
Boy, we can take tomorrow night off.
Been motion and seconded that ordinance be adopted. Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hugg.
Aye.
Councilman McFarland.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Mayor Giarrante.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And last item to be moved up is Council Memo Number 488-13, 488-13, and that's an ordinance prohibiting the use of groundwater as a potable water supply at two parcels located at Cass and Scott Streets in downtown Joliet. This may seem a bit unusual to ask not to allow any kind of wells to be drilled in a downtown setting. It's a requirement from the IEPA. This is the parcel that used to accommodate the Social Security building at the southeast corner of Cass and Scott Street. The County of Will has a contract to purchase the property as part of the Phase 1 environmental. It was determined that an NFR, or no further remediation letter, needed to be issued. In order to do that, there's a requirement by the IEPA for municipalities to prohibit any kind of drilling for groundwater on a parcel like this that has some history of a use that may have emitted some kind of substance. In this particular case, it goes back to an old car dealership that was on the site many, many years ago, and I think there were some other uses that may have contributed to some of the contaminants that were detected. This would prohibit any kind of well from being drilled on the site of the Social Security building and also the old post office that sits just to the south of it. Staff is recommending approval of the ordinance. I know Mr. Hanson represents the seller of the property, and the county is very supportive of this. They would like to be able to close on this as soon as possible. They'll be able to renovate the Social Security building and start using it for administrative offices. It's part of our ongoing negotiations with the county to maintain their presence in downtown Joliet.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Krista?
Been motion and seconded that ordinance be adopted. Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hugg.
Aye.
Councilman McFarland.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Mayor Giarrante.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I believe that completes the agenda as far as items to be moved up. We only have a few items left for the regular agenda, and go through those quickly.
Sure.
First item, minutes of the October 15th meeting will be before you for review and consideration. Also, committee reports from various council positions. Next item will be the council memo number 482-13, position vacancies. This is requesting the filling of a Secretary 2 position which will be in the clerk's office. Next several items I believe we have handled: 484, 485, 486, 487, 488 have been handled. Next item, 490, is a resolution appropriating funds for the pavement marking program. This is an expansion of our 2013 pavement marking program because we've used motor fuel tax funds to finance that operation, and we're adding just over $8,100 to the 2013 program. The IDOT requires us to pass a resolution appropriating those funds. That's what's before you this evening, and the corresponding expansion of the contract is at Council Memo number 506-13, which I believe the Public Service Committee reviewed this afternoon at its meeting. Next item is 491, is a resolution authorizing the exchange of real property, and I'll be addressing that at tomorrow night's meeting. Next two items are regular payroll for October 11th and October 25th. Council memos 493 and 494. And then the remaining items were reviewed by the Public Service Committee at its meeting this afternoon at 4 o'clock in the Executive Conference Room, and I believe the Chairman of the committee will be making a report on those remaining items. We've also dealt with the liquor license. That's at 5:08. There'll be a proclamation tomorrow evening. That concludes the agenda for this evening. We do have citizens to be heard. If you're ready for those, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we can move there. Mr. Rodriguez, I believe, was heard already on the item that he wanted to address. Mr. Webb has signed up, and I'm not sure if Mr. Webb is present tonight. Next item, next person to sign up is Mike Stapp, 1418 Parkside Drive.
Mayor, City Council, I'd like to pass my time to Tim Hunter.
For the record, I was questioned about this, and this has happened when we were discussing the detention center. I believe someone yielded their time to sister. So without objection.
Thank you.
Next person is Burke Schuster.
Hello, Mayor, City Council. Burke Schuster, 1301 Woodland Court, and I would also like to defer my time to Joliet Firefighters Local President Tim Hunter.
Without objection.
Next person on the list is Tim Hunter.
Mayor, members of the council, as you know, my name is Tim Hunter. I reside at 3711 Squires Mill Road, right here in Joliet, and I represent the firefighters and the apparatus operators of the Joliet Fire Department. First, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to share some of my thoughts with you today, and I would also like to thank my fellow firefighters, their families, and there's also a group of nurses here that are standing with us today. My reason for being here is to express some disappointment regarding how a recent event was handled in the media. According to newspaper articles, an incident happened on an EMS call involving allegations made against the firefighters by Councilwoman Quillman. I would like to speak on behalf of the firefighters regarding who we are. You know, many people think that we sit around all day and we wait for fires to fight. But the reality is, if we're not out doing inspections or taking care of the equipment, doing hydrants, or training, we are there when people in the community need us. When there's a child not breathing, we're there to help them. When there's a bad car accident at Six Corners, we're there to get the people out safely, assess for injuries, and transport them if needed. When your mother needs picked up in the middle of the night because she fell out of bed, we're there to help and console her if needed. You see, we're dedicated to making Joliet a safer and better place to live, but it comes at a price. You see, we live with everything we've seen throughout our careers. I'd be surprised if there isn't a firefighter here who hasn't held a lifeless child in their arms, or been unfortunate enough to tell a young woman that she's now a widow, or seen such a horrible act of violence that no movie set could ever do justice. These memories are the psychological price we will bear forever. But there's other people that pay as well, our families. We're away from them 1/3 of their lives. We miss Christmases, birthdays, anniversaries, plays, dances, sporting events, and the list goes on. We don't get holidays off to spend with family. Instead of having Christmas Eve at home with the family, they are sitting at home themselves, hoping that we come home at all. When we leave for work in the morning, we don't hug each other, "I'll see you later." We hug each other goodbye. And if I don't come home, know that I love you. But these firefighters that sit out here today would make the same sacrifice all over again if they had the choice, because they care about people. They care about helping others more than themselves. They know the sacrifices that they're making, and they know the sacrifices their families are making. but they choose the lives of others above their own, even when the price is high. When not protecting the community, they're out serving it. Through donations made by each and every firefighter and through fundraising events, we raise and donate between $20,000 and $30,000 every year. This money helps numerous charities in our local community provide so many services to people in need. These firefighters, deserve respect, honor, and praise for what they do. What they don't deserve is to be unjustly accused of what they stand against. And over the course of numerous media articles and statements within those articles, that is exactly what happened here. A meeting took place to address these negative allegations in a professional manner. And the firefighters honored an agreement to help Councilwoman Quillman save face and chose not to comment. But unfortunately, we do not feel she honored this agreement. To refrain from making personal allegations against the firefighters. We could have taken the low road and fired back personally, but we chose not to. It just amazes me the type of professionalism shown by these humble servants of the community. Through written communication and communication via council members, it was asked that she make the situation right by acknowledging the type of firefighters we have and how they are an honest group of passionate servants of the community. But she declined. We raise our children to know the difference between right and wrong. And with the access that she had with the news media, social media, and her voice here, she had a real opportunity to teach our children, teach the city's future leaders, a real lesson in honesty and humility. Instead, I'm standing before you. Well, moving forward, on behalf of the firefighters and their families, even though we are disappointed, we would like to forgive Councilwoman Quillman for her actions that she took against us directly. Our concern, and why I'm speaking here today, lies with the deeper issue that needs to be addressed. You see, it appears to us there are feelings that dictate her repeated lack of support for the firefighters. And we believe this support affects the safety of the public in our community. As a council person, you should not allow your personal feelings towards a group, us, or any other group, affect the decisions and actions for an entire community. If you're unable to set aside your feelings for an individual group, from personal to professional, then maybe you need to reevaluate your position as an elected official. The community's best interest should be what drives this council, not personal feeling toward a single organization. You see, we all serve the citizens in various capacities and should put the community first, as the firefighters continue to do every day. Thank you.
Yes? Name and address, please.
Georgine Williams, 811 Elizabeth Street. I'd like to say that I've been a nurse for 50 years and that this completely goes against everything that I was trained. You go into a situation with someone and it's their family member, you are taught to treat them with compassion and kindness. I personally, in the nursing home, have been shoved out of the way, laughed at when you've come in there. So I think that this is kind of petty, all right? We in the medical profession, or any other profession that deals with the public, are trained to be considerate and kind to who we're caring for. That's the name of the game. We need to put this aside. This, to me, isn't even a matter of her disliking the fire department or any, it's not professional. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved? Second.
Motion and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.